Coming up on the show, we're closing in on another busy travel holiday. We're going to see how GDOT is working to make that commute nice and smooth for you. Also, more candidates have thrown their hats into the ring. That will be another busy midterm election coming up. We'll talk about that. And welcome back to a familiar face to 11Alive ahead of delivering a commencement speech addressed this weekend. This is The Take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories, and we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. Let's start right here. All right, so we're going to our good friend Natalie Dale, who is with us. You know, AAA has projected that more than 45 million Americans will be traveling for Memorial Day holiday weekend. That also includes the 39 million that will be traveling by car. That's why GDOT is working so hard to get those main roads paved up, get them all nice and shiny and new for you so you can travel nice and smooth. Here joining us now is GDOT spokesperson Natalie Dale, our good friend. Welcome back to the show, Natalie.
Thank you. I am so glad that you consider major resurfacing fun. That's how we're going to start off this Friday morning. It is fun. It is one of the biggest complaints we get. So we've got a lot of resurfacing coming for y'all.
Well, how do you pick the roads that you're going to resurface, especially for this time of year?
Well, we have sort of a Metro Atlanta-wide resurfacing agenda this summer. Sometimes roads just are ready for it. There is like a life cycle of roads, if you will. So depending on how many people drive on the road. So example, downtown connector, probably going to need to be resurfaced more often than others. It's not pleasant when we do it, but because of the daily traffic. So we look at what roads are coming up for their resurfacing cycle and what roads just aren't cutting it anymore. And we know as a city, we have world-class events coming soon. Every day, really, in Atlanta, we have world-class events, but we have things like the World Cup coming, another Super Bowl. So we're going to sort of throw a bigger net, if you will, on Metro Atlanta to resurface pretty much every road that you travel on. Every interstate is getting some new level of resurfacing this summer.
Wow. All right. So how do you minimize the traffic during that time of resurfacing?
So we resurface at nighttime, and so it may not impact everyone, but you should still know before you go, especially in the morning, because we do have 285 corridors, 85, 75, I-20, and some state routes in the city. But in those nighttime hours, we're working hard, shutting down lanes. We've talked recently about the importance of construction zones, bringing your speed down in construction zones, making sure that you're traveling safely and attentively. That can be harder at night when you don't have that daylight hour. So we try to minimize our impact by resurfacing in the nighttime hours, only closing down the lanes we're working on. But hear this, the city of Atlanta is also resurfacing this summer because we're all gearing up for these major events. Right. They resurface during the day. So it is likely that sometime this summer in the city of Atlanta, you're going to have 24/7 round the clock resurfacing, whether they're resurfacing in the day with the city of Atlanta or night with GDOT. We just have a lot of work to do to get our roads back to world-class status.
That's why I'm trying to make it a happy time, because I know traffic is going to be really hectic around here. How are you guys gearing up for Memorial Day?
Well, as always, we're going to have those traffic closures, pull what we can of construction zones noon next Friday. So noon next Friday, any construction in the state of Georgia, we're going to go ahead and pull those lane closures where we can to make your ride easier. But as you know, we're talking now, we've got a lot of stuff going on. And if that lane if we're resurfacing a lane, for example, and we've worked on it and it's not ready to be open, it will still remain closed. So 511, last week we talked about the importance of 511, the 511 center. Make sure you get that app on your phone. Just check where you're traveling before you go. There is so much knowledge in our fingertips these days that after you buckle your belt, but before you start your car, just do a quick check. Of course, check with 11 to make sure that we're getting the traffic news first from us, from y'all. So there's so much information. Just make sure you're gathering it all before you make that choice on your commute or on your Memorial Day plans.
Let me ask you, how long of a summer project is this going to be, or will we be doing this? You mentioned those major events that's coming through. How long will it take?
Well, summer technically lasts well into September, almost
Absolutely.
October. So we'll be out there. Again, we have so much to do. And based on the feedback that we've gotten from many people who just travel through the state or it's their daily commute, there are areas of our interstates that are just not cutting it. I drive them too. No one loves a pothole. Sometimes these big projects like Transform 285 400 can be something that changes your daily commute by 10 or 15 minutes. And those are great. They take years to build. But if you're still hitting that pothole, how great is your commute? That's our goal, is to get all these potholes, to get all these areas that are worn down. And it is a lot. And because we're out there, we're going to do it all. So it's going to take us well into almost the fall, weather permitting.
I got you. It'll be Falcon season by then. Yeah, it'll be Falcon season by then. We'll have something else to talk about by then. Natalie, always appreciate you being on the show. Make sure you have a good weekend, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right. All right, take a live look now at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where drivers are going to see some changes starting on Sunday. Traffic into the South Terminal will be reduced to 2 lanes as crews will be working on the South Parking Lot construction project there. The changes will be in place through the end of the year. Airport officials are saying access to the parking deck will not be impacted, so you can still park there and pay that new fee that they have out there. All right, 90 degrees for the high temperature for this afternoon. It is going to be HOT hot this afternoon, folks. We are starting off with the clouds, of course, but those clouds will start to break up and we'll get some sunshine in as we head into the afternoon. Changes come for the weekend. Got a front that's going to drop into the area. That front will bring a chance for showers. I think they'll be around early on Saturday. Maybe a couple claps of thunder will wake you up. For some of us who like to sleep in, 30 to 40% chance for showers and thunderstorms will continue as that front gets hung up on Sunday. We're down to 85 degrees, but we'll rebound back to those hot temperatures. 89 degrees on Monday, Tuesday looking at 90, and then we have another front that's going to come through. We'll bring us some scattered showers and thunderstorms for Wednesday at the middle of the week. We'll drop that temperature to 82 degrees, and then behind that front, temperatures will be back down into the 70s for highs by Thursday under mostly sunny skies, so that'll be refreshing as the kids are getting out of school, if they're not out already by Thursday. All right, there's a new way for you to get live radar and extend your weather forecast on your time, folks. We've launched our Weather Impact 24/7, which allows you to stay up to date on your local weather impacts. We also have in-depth weather discussions and extended coverage during severe weather events, as you all are well know. It's all on your schedule, all on your time. It's Weather Impact 24/7 right here on 11 Live Plus. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. President Donald Trump spending his last days in a whirlwind visit to the Middle East, meeting with business leaders. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who's been covering politics for years now. And Alice, we've heard the president boasting about how he feels like how much he's accomplished on this trip. How much credit can he claim for these deals that have been worked out?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think he can claim a lot of credit over. He has these personal relationships with some of these leaders in the wealthy Gulf nations that he's been visiting throughout this week. And critics have looked at that and said, well, he has some of these relationships because his companies have done business in the Middle East, and his adult sons are now running the Trump organization that is doing some major real estate deals in each of the countries that he visited. But during his time there this week, he whatever the relationship may be, he used it to gain some pretty good headwinds for the U.S. And the most recent one that he announced is the United Arab Emirates president saying that he's going to invest $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years in U.S. industry, including energy and AI. And that's just one of the deals. He kind of had like signing ceremonies and big announcements of investments in each of the countries that he visited.
Alice, when it comes to the talks over Iran's nuclear program, we're hearing the president now say they could be nice or they could be violent. How serious of a statement should we take this?
Yeah, I mean, he says that he wants to give Iran a chance to be a great country. What we would really be looking at here would be Iran agreeing to just never have a nuclear weapon, which we heard a top aide to the supreme leader, the Iranian supreme leader, say yesterday in an interview with NBC News that they're willing to give up ambitions of having a nuclear weapon and to get rid of their stockpiles of the materials that would allow them to have such a weapon and allow to have monitoring to make sure that they didn't develop one. They'd be willing to do all of that in exchange for having all of the crippling economic sanctions that have been imposed on that country for some time dropped. So President Trump has been saying that he wants to see that kind of a deal happen, that he thinks that they actually are close. He said that Iran has a deal in its possession, what the U.S. is offering, and that, that he believes that they're close to being able to really negotiate and to come to an agreement. But at the same time, he has been saying if that doesn't happen, that Iran knows, he said that if they don't come to a conclusion soon in negotiations, that something very bad could happen. He said, that there's the nice solution and then there's the violent solution. And that he said he doesn't want to have to go to the violent solution. That in itself is a big word to use, violent. President Trump talks a lot about not wanting to get engaged in more foreign wars, so I don't think he wants to go there, but he's at least signaling that he's prepared to.
Speaking of foreign war, right, another source of a negotiation between the war of Russia and Ukraine, the president said nothing will happen in Ukraine until, quote, until Putin and I get together. What is that saying about the foreign policy approach?
Yeah, I mean, President Trump does believe, that he is the one that can bring together Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, they're very, very, very far apart. And the president has been saying since before he was elected that he could end this war quickly. I think he has found that it's been harder than he wanted it to be and thought it would be, in no small part because Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that he wants things to happen. He's the one who called for these talks this week that are happening in Turkey, the first time that Moscow and Kyiv have actually sat down face to face since the war began. But then he didn't show up. He indicated that maybe he would, but then he didn't. So that President Zelensky of Ukraine is certainly saying that that's another sign of the fact that even if President Putin of Russia says that he's willing to negotiate, that he's not actually taking this seriously and not doing the things that are required to actually end the war. So President Trump had said that if he were there, then he thought that Putin would go, but it didn't really work out in the timing. He said today that he wanted to go home and see his new grandbaby. His daughter Tiffany just had a grandson, so he wants to get back and see that new grandbaby, and then perhaps after that point there could be the potential for him to step in.
All right, Alice Barr, thanks so much for your insight. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, this weekend, a familiar face right here on 11Alive will be taken to the stage in the ATL. Blayne Alexander began her journalism career in Georgia and was a lead reporter and anchor right here at 11Alive before joining NBC News. She now serves as a national correspondent for Dateline. Tomorrow, she'll be giving the commencement speech at Agnes Scott College. We are happy to have Blayne join us this morning. Hey, Blayne, good to see you.
Uncle Chess, how are you, my friend? I'm so happy to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, now, okay, you're giving the speech, the commitment speech. You got to prop some people up. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts when Agnes Scott called you?
So, well, when Agnes Scott called, I said, oh, you mean me? Like y'all are asking me to do this? No, I mean, it's a huge honor. I like to joke that, like, I've given all sorts of, national interviews and talked all over the place, but talking in front of a group of graduates on commencement day is a big deal. And so it's something that I don't take lightly. I've spent the past 2.5 weeks or so preparing my speech. And I want to plant some seeds. I want to be inspirational, but I'm also keenly aware that I'm the only thing that's standing between them and getting their degrees. And so I'm going to, not take up too much time either.
What? They're giving you that time, so you got to take that time. Is the speech done? Have you finished it yet?
It's done.
It's done. All right, so
you've finished. I'm just going to practice it a little bit today, but yeah, it's done.
Gotcha. So you've covered national, international events, and all kinds of things like that. Now you're doing investigations on Dateline, things like that. How are you going to translate that into experience for these graduates?
I think that it's the life journey, right? And so I'm going to talk probably about a moment in my career that I think was a defining moment for me as an individual, for me as a journalist. So I don't want to give away too much in case there are any Scotties watching, but I'm going to talk about that and kind of how that helped transform me into what I believe is a better journalist. And then I'm just going to kind of talk about, like, the beginning, the importance of things don't come overnight, but every chapter has something that you can take from. So I think whenever I listen to speeches, and I don't know if you're the same way, Chesley, I always love to hear from people's experiences, right? People can kind of talk and say, oh, you should do this or you should do this. No, like, I want to hear your life. I want to hear how your life kind of took you from here to here and what lessons you took along the way. So that's what I tried to infuse into my speech, and hopefully it resonates.
So, not giving it away, I haven't talked to you in a little while, but I want to learn something. Since you left us and went to NBC, what have you learned?
Oh, goodness. I have learned, what have I learned? I've learned you can't control anything. I'll say that. I've learned you can't control a thing that happens. When I officially became a correspondent, it was, I mean, I was all over the place. And then the pandemic happened. And so there was this kind of like, wow, now what is this? What does this look like? I've also learned that, amplifying voices is what I love. I really love giving people who aren't typically heard a chance to be heard.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of my North Star that guides a lot of the things that I do.
Wow.
There's probably some better answer in there somewhere, but you got me on the spot.
Oh, no, hey, it's all right. How much of it will you think you'll be ad-libbing?
Oh, I've written it. You know what's interesting, a little behind the scenes about commencement speeches, you need to have that submitted ahead of time because the school, understandably, any school wants to make sure you're not going to say, they want to know what you're going to say ahead of time. Let's just say that. And so there is, they want the speech done. Of course, you and I would know when we talk on TV, you're not reading everything word for word, just like when you're reading a prompter, you go with the crowd, you feel how the crowd is feeling. So I'll throw in a little razzle dazzle there, but it's the meat of it, I think, is pretty set in stone.
This is your first one, right?
This is my very first one.
So what will you do to shake off the nerves?
Well, what's fun, my daughter's coming with me. My oldest daughter, Sage, is going to be there. She's 3, mind you, going on 4.
Wow.
So she's coming with my mom. Jay, of course, my husband, will be there. And I've got some friends who are coming too. So having people I love really means a lot.
Yeah. You just focus on your daughter and then everything will be fine, right?
Yes, exactly. Or she'll be running around, but I'll focus on somebody.
This is cool, man. I'm going to do a follow-up with you because I just want to know what will happen, or at least I'll see you on social media. I know you have pictures and everything and talk about your experience there, but we wish you the very best and the best for all those students out there that you're going to increase their brain knowledge of how it is out here in the real world.
I hope so. And it's a joy to be back with you, my friend. I miss you.
Absolutely. We got to get together soon.
I'd love it.
All right. Blayne Alexander with NBC News. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks,
all right.
Chesley.
Plenty more stories on the way, folks. This is The Take on 11Alive Plus. We're back right after this. It is Friday, and the weekend is right around the corner. In fact, you can almost reach out and touch it. And that means the Georgia vote is just a few days away. Joining us now, as always, to the show is co-anchor Zach Merchant. Zach, you got a lot to talk about this week.
We do. We have a lot to talk about just about every week now, and it's becoming a little bit of a cliche, but that's because we thought we were going to have this little bit of a lull right after the state capitol kind of wound down. The General Assembly went on break after the session ended. We were wrong about that. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got candidates entering races. We've got primary battles, a whole lot to cover.
Speaking of races, what's the biggest races you're tracking this week?
Yeah, look, that's got to be the Senate race, the U.S. Senate race, and it's all the way out in 2026, so we're still a long ways away, but we are feeling its impacts already right now. And the big kind of phrase right now is domino effect, and that is because Governor Brian Kemp announced last week he would not be running for the race. He would not be entering that Senate race, even though he was heavily recruited. He was seen as this really strong Republican challenger to incumbent Democrat Senator Jon Ossoff. And as soon as Governor Kemp said he was not getting into this race, we saw people jumping in to try to take that mantle, that Republican mantle on. The first was Representative Buddy Carter. He's from the coast area. He represents Georgia's 1st congressional district, and he's from Savannah, St. Simons area. This week, it was John King's turn. He is the Republican State Insurance Commissioner. He launched his campaign on Monday.
Well, are there any other candidates entering the race?
Not a guarantee, right? This is where, like, I talk about the crystal ball a little bit. You can never tell the future for sure, but it is likely we'll see others jump in. Folks like Congressman Mike Collins, Congressman Rich McCormick, and many others have been a part of this conversation, this kind of political rumor mill a little bit of are they going to get in, are they not going to get in, are they thinking about it, and when asked, you'll hear these, kind of, I don't want to say wishy-washy answers, but non-committal. Folks are saying they're thinking about it, they're looking at it. Nothing set in stone just yet, but you can probably expect this primary field is going to expand, and that's for the Republican primary, whose winner will go on to face incumbent Democrat Jon Ossoff in the general election in November of next year. We should point out here, too, Jon Ossoff's seat, it is going to be one of the most competitive in 2026. Democrats really want to hold on to it. Republicans see it as an opportunity, potentially, to flip it.
What else should we be watching for this week?
Well, look, it's campaign announcement season, right? Not quite campaign season, although we're kind of drifting into that territory too, but it's definitely announcement season, which means a lot of politicians are looking to take a step up because there's sort of this ladder effect. If one person starts to announce that they're running for higher office, folks who are maybe at one rung below, they see an opportunity to go up a rung, right? So there's been a lot of attention on the Senate race. We've been talking about it this morning, but Georgia will also have a competitive governor's race in 2026. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, a Republican, has not yet announced his campaign, and he may not, but it is widely expected that he will launch a gubernatorial campaign later this spring or in the summer, and that means that there will be a competitive race for lieutenant governor, right? That one rung up mentality when and if Burt Jones jumps into that gubernatorial race.
Who else could be entering that race?
Well, Republican State Senator Steve Gooch has entered that lieutenant governor race, and he jumped in just yesterday, probably just about, looking at my watch here, about 24 hours ago. He currently serves as the state Senate Majority Leader. His colleague in the Senate, Democrat Josh McLaurin, he also recently launched a lieutenant governor's campaign, and we are talking with McLaurin this weekend about his priorities and his vision for the future of Georgia. That's coming up on Sunday.
All right, and it's not the Georgia vote without you talking to some of the voters. Who else should you be talking to this week?
Yeah, look, every week you can't have the Georgia vote without Georgia voters. This Voice of the Voter segment, we give the floor, give airtime, and give space for regular folks to talk about what matters to them, because it's really all about regular voters, and they can get lost in the political conversation, but we try to keep them at the core of the program and our coverage and our journalism. So this week, Faith is talking with a teenager who has a really big interest in politics. So you can maybe put a little asterisk, call it the voice of the future voter this week. But you'd imagine being a young person, you're paying attention to what's going on in this world. There's a lot of complicated stuff, and we're sitting down with this teen who's got a lot of interesting things to say and is paying a lot of attention to what's going on.
Sounds good. Zach, thanks so much. Really appreciate you joining us every week.
Thanks, Chesley.
All right, you can watch the Georgia Vote with Zach and Faith Jesse Sunday morning at 11 right here on 11Alive Plus. Hey, we're back with my final take right after this. Stay tuned. All right, our weather impacts today will just be the heat, 90 degrees for the afternoon high temperature, but we'll get some showers back in here as we head through the weekend. Got a front that's going to push through. We'll bring a 30 to 40% chance for scattered showers Saturday and Sunday as well. Sunday, the temperature cools off just a little bit, down to 85 degrees for the high, but then we're right back up there close to 90 as we head into Monday and Tuesday of next week. In fact, Tuesday under mostly sunny skies. Here comes the next front coming through on Wednesday. We'll reduce that temperature to 82. In fact, behind the front, we'll have mostly sunny skies, but cooler temperatures will be down to 77 degrees for an afternoon high. Keep in mind, we should be around 80 this time of year, so 90 is going to feel pretty hot. All right, here's my final take today, folks. A student graduated from Northwestern University demanding her tuition back after catching her business professor using ChatGPT to generate some notes. She got suspicious after noticing some typos and images depicting figures with extra limbs. Aggravated that she wasn't getting that top-tier education despite the school's cost and reputation, the student filed a formal complaint to the university and denied. The school did their own investigation to the professor, and he admitted that he used AI to generate notes and some PowerPoint presentations for lectures. Now, the school's policy does allow teachers to use AI as long as they give the site credit. All right. And as a teacher, I agree with the school. No refund, denied. Whether the notes come from a textbook or whether they come from AI, that's the information you need to study and pass the test so you can go on, right? Denied. How do you feel about this, folks? Hit me up on social media. Let me know your thoughts. I want to see your take. I'd love to see your take on this issue. Should she have gotten her money back? I think it came up to maybe about $8,000. That's all we have for you today. Try to encourage someone, folks, and have a great weekend.